Hi guys, it's Jack here and I'm back with another Star Wars Battlefront 2 video, and I'm kind of doing something a bit out of the ordinary, and that's actually kind of a rant video on Battlefront 2. The reason I'm doing this is just because there's a few things I think need to be changed, and there's a few things that I think need to be added, because it is a really good game. It's one of my favourite games. I think DICE have done an amazing job with it. I don't see why so many people complained about the loot crates. It was bad the way they had it, but I think they still needed microtransactions. But anyway, we'll get back into it, and I'll talk about that maybe a bit later. But yeah, there's a few things that I wanted to be changed with the game. For example, I'll start off with the sort of server browser thing that Battlefield 4 and even Battlefront 1 sort of had. I don't want a full-fledged server browser where you can search for a server and find one like that, but what I mean is they should have a error-based server browser, so you could choose whether you go into the Clone Wars era, the original trilogy, or the new trilogy. I don't know what you would call that, but you know what I mean. It's like First Order and things like that. Because sometimes I want to go in, I want to play some Kashyyyk, I want to play some Naboo, I want to play some Kamino, but I end up having to go through fucking Jakku, loads of other things first. Jakku, Endor, some maps I just don't like. I mean, I just can't. I hate Jakku. Hoth's okay, as you can see the gameplay we're on now is Hoth. But yeah, I think they need to add something like that. But at the same time, I think for that to work well, you would also need more maps on each era. So I think that should be something waited for the future, but it is kind of annoying. Anyway, on to the next issue. I'm going to talk about the LAAT gunship. This is the clone gunship, in case you're wondering, the one that flies around, has the green lasers firing at the side of it. It's not a problem with the damage or anything like that on the gunship. The damage is fine. It's actually quite good. The one problem I have with it is the amount of health it has against the AAT tank. It is so weak. I don't know if you've ever got into one of those tanks and fired at an LAAT, but you can take it down in 2 shots. It is so weak. And it's not like it's hard to hit. If it was really hard to hit, and it was 2 shots, fair enough. That's game, you know? Good shot. But it isn't hard to hit. It's so easy to hit. That, I think, needs to be changed. Because it's not like the LAAT can take out the AAT in seconds. It can't. So the fact that the AAT can take out the LAAT in seconds is ridiculous. That's just another thing I've got around about. There's quite a few things I want to talk about here, but another one also, Supercharged Sentry. Quite a lot of the sentries actually. The Supercharged Sentry in particular. I don't know if you remember, like pre-patch, like before they patched it, or nerfed it or whatever. It used to fire for about 8 seconds continuously if you held down the trigger. It now fires for about 2.7 to 3 point something seconds, which is really shit. You could probably kill one person with that if you're lucky. They need to make that a bit better because it was one of the best sentries. Granted, it was a bit overpowered, so they did need to make it. They did need to nerf it, but not that much. DICE have a thing with nerfing stuff to the point in which it's useless. They've done that ever since, you know, with Battlefield games. They've done it with Battlefront 1. They've done it with all their games, really. And I just don't want Battlefront 2 to have the same thing, where everyone's running around with the exact same class. But, yeah, it just feels really weak. And, like, the heavy sentry, I don't like that. I don't think it's actually bad. I think it's just my opinion on it. But I don't like that. The mobility sentry, I think it's called, just seems a bit of a waste. Like, moving faster while using a sentry doesn't seem that useful. I have used it and I just don't get along with it all that well. We're now going to move on to Yoda, actually. We're going to move on to Yoda just because of... I think Yoda is such a cool character. And I actually play as him sometimes in Heroes vs Villains when I'm bored. But Yoda is rubbish. Yoda is... he's good on Naboo. On Naboo, if you can get him in the palace and you can get him in the hallways and stuff like that of the palace, he's quite good because you can block and then throw the fire back. But in Heroes vs Villains is where he is crap. He's nigh on useless. I'd see hardly nobody use him unless all the others are taken. Obviously you can't take them all, but they can't find anyone else they like more, so they choose Yoda, which isn't good because Yoda is quite bad. They have given him a buff in the last update, which was a couple of days ago, or yesterday, I can't quite remember. And he is a bit better, but he is still bad. If you go out against Vader with Yoda, you will lose. If you're going against Kylo Ren with Yoda, you will lose, unless you get lucky. He does seem to be pretty bad. I think the one way they could fix him is have lunge on his lightsaber attacks, because he seems to be... This happens to me, I don't know if it happens to everyone, but you'll be trying to attack someone, for example, and they're slightly moving backwards. Because they're slowly moving backwards, you can't quite hit them, because he has hardly no lunge. He needs to have a little bit of lunge, like Darth Vader, where he lunges forward with the lightsaber attack. I know he's small, but they need something like that. Anyway, moving on from Yoda, we've got the standard guns that you start off with in each class. So you've got guns like the DC-15A, the A280C, I think it's called, the E11, things like that. My big complaint about this is the fact that they are actually error-locked. So, for example, the clones can only use the DC-15A, which is a bit stupid, in my opinion, because that eliminates so many guns from the game. So, for example, you have 2 guns per side, so you have the DC-15A, and then you have the droid gun, I can't remember what that's actually called. So the droid blaster rifle, so that's 2 in just the assault. So there's 4 classes. So 4 times 2 is 8, and then you've got 3 errors. So 8 times 3, and that's how many guns that you're missing. It is absolutely stupid. I don't know why they did that. It is strange. But you're missing so many guns, and it's just, 24 guns missing. I could be wrong. I think it might be less. It could be less. But, it just doesn't seem right. Like, I like the DC-15A, but I can only use it when I'm a clone. So there's no point using it, because if I get used to the DC-15A, I enjoy it. But then I go back to the, for example, I go to the 11, and it does feel different. I think stat-wise, they're pretty similar, but it just doesn't feel the same. They don't fire at the same speed. They don't, it just doesn't feel the same. Moving on, we're going to be talking about the turrets, heavy turrets and officer turrets. This pisses me off big time. Massively pisses me off. The fact that heavies have turrets. I like the fact that officers have turrets. That's cool, that's fine. But if you've got lots of officers on the enemy team, or even on your team, and you've also got a lot of heavies on your team, a go-to heavy perk, or star card should I say, is the ion turret for a lot of people. And the go-to perk for officers is the improved sentry. Improved turret. And this ends up with about 20 turrets, not literally, but so many turrets on the field at once, and it just makes it ridiculous, the fact that an ion turret shoots at people. I think the ion turret, because it's ion means increased damage against vehicles, should only shoot at vehicles, not people. So if there's, for example, jet trooper running around on the ground, and the ion turret decides to lock on and start shooting at him, that's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. Paired that with a infantry turret, and it's even more ridiculous. So I think they should be stuck to shooting at vehicles. That's just what I think. Also, moving on to Boba Fett, another hero. I know we already spoke about Yoda. Boba Fett. I love Boba Fett. I even have a statue of Boba Fett. I am obsessed with Boba Fett. But his EE3 blaster is crap. It is so bad. In a 1v1, if you don't use Boba Fett's jetpack, say you don't use his jetpack, and you're going against a heavy, You can lose because the EE3 is that bad. It is so terrible. Like, it sometimes one shot, which is great, and sometimes it's 5-6 blasts, you know, bursts them, and they're still alive. It's just ridiculous. They need to change that. His abilities are fine. His jetpack's fine. They've actually made his jetpack better. They made it faster, so he's more maneuverable, which is good. That's a good buff. They also gave, they nerfed his barrage a bit, which did need to be slightly nerfed. And they did. They nerfed it. But then his EE3 blaster, which is really bad, hasn't been buffed. So I think that's an issue as well that needs to be fixed. And again, another hero that needs to be buffed, massively buffed, in my opinion, is Iden Versio. Her secondary fire in things like Galactic Assault and stuff like that is quite good. She is pretty good. Heroes versus villains, she's probably one of the most useless heroes. If you get someone, like, this happens to us when I'm playing with my friends. If someone on our team chooses Iden Versio, we think, what are you doing? Like, why are you choosing Iden Versio? You're gonna make us lose. But some people do, and it's strange, but they do. And yeah, it messes it up. So she needs to be buffed somehow. I don't know how, but she needs to be buffed. One last thing before the end of the video, the turn-in circle on starfighters. When you get into a space combat and they just spin around and spin around and spin around and you can't kill them because they keep spinning in circles. That pisses me off big time. It's just annoying because you're stuck spinning around, so you're spinning, they're spinning, so you're just constantly going in a circle until one of you decides, fuck it, I'm just going to go for someone else. So that needs to really be changed because it ruins space combat a little bit. But one last hero I want to talk about, and it's because it's disappointing, it's Luke Skywalker. He could have been so much more. Luke Skywalker is such a cool hero in the movies. He's not my favourite, not by far, but the films are about him and Anakin Skywalker, the Skywalker family. Why is he so bad? In the game, he's so bad. There's a few people I've seen that are quite decent with him, but he's never amazing. He's never top of the leaderboard. He's never up there. No one chooses him in Galactic Assault because he's useless. Please buff him. He needs to be better. I don't know how, but he needs to be better. If you like the video, then please give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, subscribe. If you like this content, leave a comment down below and tell me if you want me to do more of these kind of videos. This is one of my first of ever doing this kind of thing. But give some feedback of how well I did, and thanks for watching.